What I'm going to show you today seems illegal, but it's real, totally real. We're not talking about mind tricks, manipulation techniques, or empty motivational speeches. Today, the only thing you'll need is your attention. Pure, raw, focused. There's a way of observing reality that not only changes your perception, but literally alters what happens around you. Something most people have never truly experienced, because they're too busy trying to control the world through effort, when in fact the real power lies in what you choose to observe and how you do it. That's why I need you to be present now. Forget the idea of just watching another video. What you're about to experience here is an invitation to enter a state of perception that might seem forbidden, because it goes against everything you've been taught about how reality works. The technique you're about to discover doesn't involve positive words, affirmations, or forced visualizations. It starts in a much quieter and much more powerful place, the meeting point between your body, your breath, and your consciousness. And before you think about skipping steps or just wanting to understand with your mind, know that true transformation happens when you feel, when you perceive, when you witness without trying to change anything. That's the game. A game where your simple observation can alter old emotional patterns, change your frequency, and open possibilities that, until now, were invisible. So if you're tired of repeating the same cycles, of feeling stuck in a reality that doesn't flow, maybe this is the moment to do something different, to stop trying to force results and start observing in a way that, for many, seems almost illegal. Body and breath, mindfulness, the foundation of the vibrational gaze. When we talk about conscious observation, most people immediately imagine a mental exercise, something that happens only in the head. But the truth is that all observation begins in the body, in the now, in the silent space between one breath and the next. And it's precisely here that the first step of this technique, which seems to challenge the rules of reality, resides. Full attention to the body and breath. Imagine this. Your body is the first vibrational field you have access to. Before trying to collapse realities or manifest anything, there's a basic need that many ignore. The need to fully inhabit your own body. This is not a technical detail. It's a vibrational foundation. As long as you remain disconnected from your own physical sensations, your ability to observe deeply will remain limited, fragmented, superficial. Science explains this very clearly. Studies on mindfulness and full attention show that simple practices like body scanning and focusing on the breath have a direct impact on the activity of the amygdala, that brain structure associated with fear, emotional reactivity, and constant alertness. When you bring your attention back to the body, something starts to change inside you. The fight or flight response diminishes. The energy that was previously scattered in worries and thoughts begins to condense, to organize, which as if you were coming home after years away. But perhaps the most important thing here is not what happens in the brain, but what begins to happen in your self-perception. The simple act of feeling your feet touching the ground, of noticing the temperature of the air entering and leaving your nostrils, of observing the tension or relaxation in your shoulders. All this brings you back to the now in a way that no intellectual explanation can. And this is where the technique starts to stand out. Because when we talk about vibrational gaze, we're referring to a quality of attention that goes beyond analysis or judgment. It's not about interpreting, nor about understanding. It's about witnessing, about being with what is, exactly as it is, without wanting to change, without wanting to improve. Just observe. This is a profound break from how we've been conditioned to live. Since childhood, we've learned to react to everything, to physical discomfort, to emotional silence, to internal tensions, always running from feeling, always seeking distractions. But when you choose to stop, breathe, and simply feel the body, something opens up. A kind of presence portal that completely changes the way your energy organizes itself. For those who've never practiced this consistently, It may seem too simple, maybe even trivial, but the depth of this process is not in its complexity, but in its surrender. You know that moment when you realize you're no longer just thinking about life, but actually feeling life happening within you? This is it. This is now. If you want, you can try it with me, even while listening to these words. Close your eyes for a moment. Bring your attention to your feet. Feel the contact with the ground. Then slowly move your attention up through your legs, your abdomen, your chest. Observe your shoulders, your throat, your face. Don't try to relax. Just feel, just notice, just observe. Now bring your attention to your breath. Don't change the rhythm. Don't force it. Just notice the air coming in and going out. Notice the pauses between each inhalation and exhalation. Notice the temperature. Notice the subtlety. This is the ground of your presence. This is the place where the observer awakens. By doing this, you start to notice something curious. The body, which previously seemed just a set of physical sensations, now reveals itself as a field of vibrational information. Every tension, every tingling, every space of lightness, all carry an energetic signature. And the more you observe without resistance, the more your frequency begins to reorganize. This is the foundation of the technique we're exploring today. Without this bodily foundation, any attempt at subtler observation becomes too mental, too forced, too disconnected. That's why the invitation here is simple but profound. Before trying to observe the world, learn to observe yourself in the body, in the now. And if you feel this is already opening new doors within you, get ready for the next step. Because when the body quiets down and the breath becomes a guiding thread of presence, we reach the territory where observation expands beyond the physical. In the next section, we'll talk about open monitoring and how this practice allows you to start perceiving the invisible field around you. Open monitoring, expanding observation to the invisible field. Now that you've started to feel your own body like never before, it's time to take a step further, to move beyond internal observation and start opening the field, expanding your gaze to what's around you, but is almost never truly noticed. This is where we enter a practice known as open monitoring, and the name already carries a subtle truth. It's not about focusing, but about opening. Contrary to what many people imagine, true observation is not an act of forced concentration. It's not an effort to pay attention to a single point. Open monitoring is exactly the opposite of that. It's the art of being aware, without choosing where to rest that awareness. It's allowing your attention to move, flow, dance, following whatever arises, without holding, without fixing. Imagine you're sitting in silence, eyes closed, and suddenly you start to notice the sounds around you. A car passing in the distance, a bird singing, maybe a subtler sound, like the noise of your own heartbeat. But instead of choosing a specific sound to focus on, you just notice everything, without judging, without trying to interpret, just welcoming. This is the state of open attention. But what makes this practice so powerful is that it's not limited to the physical senses. As you remain in this state, something else begins to happen. You start to perceive the invisible layers of the field, the energy of an environment, the vibration of an emotion passing through the air, the density of a collective thought that seems to hover in certain places. You're no longer just hearing sounds or feeling temperatures. You're accessing frequencies. Neuroscience is already beginning to understand this phenomenon. Research shows that open monitoring activates brain networks associated with expanded perception, creativity, and emotional integration. Areas that help us connect internal and external stimuli simultaneously. The result? A state of consciousness that is no longer linear, but expansive. And this is where many people have their first real experiences of feeling the invisible field. Maybe you notice a slight tingling when entering certain environments, or sense a sudden change in your emotional state with no apparent reason. These are signs that your perception is crossing the layer of matter and beginning to touch the vibrational field. But attention, we're not talking about cheap mysticism or fanciful interpretations. Open monitoring is a practice of presence, of internal and external listening, without the need to name what is being perceived. When you enter this state, you become a radar, a conscious antenna, picking up information that would normally go unnoticed. And maybe now you're starting to understand why this technique seems almost illegal, because it gives you access to information that most people spend their whole lives ignoring. You start to feel the repetitive patterns in environments, the unspoken emotions in conversations, the hidden intentions between the lines of everyday life. And the more you practice, the clearer becomes the perception that there is a field of possibilities around you, a space where reality has not yet collapsed, and that silently reacts to the way you're observing. This is the moment when many ask themselves, if I can already feel the field, can I interact with it consciously? And the answer is yes. But that's another level, a level where your observation stops being just witness and starts to become direct influence. Quantum observation, collapsing the field with intentional focus. Now that you've started to feel the field around you, it's time to touch an even deeper layer of reality. Up to this point, you've learned to observe without interfering, to witness without trying to change. But now, the proposal is different. Today, you will start to understand what it means to observe with intention. Not just perceive the field, but interact with it. This is the point where observation stops being passive and becomes creative. The name for this? Quantum observation. In quantum physics, there's a classic experiment called the double slit that reveals a disconcerting truth. The mere presence of an observer changes the outcome of an event. When there is no observer, matter behaves like a wave, infinite possibilities. But when someone observes, the wave collapses. It turns into a fixed point, into manifested reality. It's as if the entire universe were in a state of waiting, until someone with enough presence and intention decided to truly look. Now, before you think this is just theory or laboratory physics, I want to remind you of something you may have felt at some point in your life. That sensation that when you focus intensely on something, when you visualize with presence, when you feel as if it's already real, things around you start to change. Small signs appear, people show up, situations rearrange. This is not coincidence. This is the field responding to your intentional focus. But attention, the secret is not in forcing the outcome, nor in repeating affirmations without feeling. The key point here is the quality of your attention, the depth of your inner gaze, the clarity with which you hold the image, the feeling, and the vibration, as if it were already happening now, inside you. That's why the invitation I make to you is simple, but intense. Choose now a situation in your life that you wish to transform. It could be healing, a new relationship, a professional opportunity. The theme doesn't matter. What matters is the level of presence you will place into this. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Visualize the scene, but not just as a distant spectator. Feel yourself inside it. Observe the details, the colors, the textures. Feel your body reacting as if it were real, as if it were already happening, as if the field had no other choice but to collapse in that direction. And here comes one of the biggest keys to this process. While you do this, notice what happens inside you. Maybe a wave of emotion arises, maybe a warmth in your chest, maybe a shiver. These are signs that the field is being impacted by your observation. And now, I want to make you a special request. If this practice brought you any insight, if during these minutes you felt something change, write in the comments below. I choose to observe with intention. This will serve as a vibrational anchor, a conscious record that you're not just consuming this content, you're becoming an active part of your transformation. Heart coherence and emotion-focused observation. Up to this point, you've learned to observe the body, the field, and even to interact with the invisible possibilities the universe offers. But there is a silent and absolutely decisive ingredient that distinguishes an observation that just touches the surface from one that truly transforms reality. This ingredient is emotion, and more specifically, the emotional coherence that arises when mind and heart begin to vibrate at the same frequency. Science has already proven there's constant communication between the brain and the heart. But what few people know is that the heart has an electromagnetic field much stronger than the brain, a field that not only feels, but emits signals that impact the surrounding environment. This means that the emotional state you choose to cultivate directly influences the outcome of your observations. It's not enough to visualize, it's not enough to focus. If your emotion is misaligned, the field won't respond coherently. It's like trying to send a radio signal with static. The message never comes through clearly. That's why the key here is to create an internal state where what you think, what you feel, and what you observe are vibrating in the same direction. But how do you do this? The first step is to bring your attention to the center of your chest, the heart area. This is your new anchoring point. While breathing slowly and deeply, begin to imagine that your breath is entering and leaving through this space, not just as a visualization, but as a real experience. Feel the flow, notice the warmth. Let your whole body enter this calmer, more present, more connected rhythm. And now, the second step. Choose an elevated emotion to fill this space. It could be gratitude, it could be compassion, it could be a silent love. That kind that has no specific reason but simply exists. Don't force the feeling, just invite it. Bring memories that awaken this emotion if necessary. Allow your chest to expand, your breath to deepen, the field to start pulsing in a different way. This practice has a name, heart coherence. And when it happens, your emotional frequency starts to create a kind of resonance with the field around you. Science has already observed that in this state, brain function changes. Areas responsible for decision-making, creativity, and intuitive perception activate much more intensely. And do you know what this means? That your observation, the same one you started practicing back at the beginning, now gains multiplied strength because it carries true emotional intention. It vibrates with consistency. It becomes magnetic. It's not about just feeling positive. The proposal here is different. It's about aligning emotion and presence in such an authentic way that the field has no choice but to respond. You may notice while practicing that your thoughts start to slow down, that your body enters a state of deep relaxation while your inner clarity increases. This is the sign that you've entered the right frequency. From here, everything you observe, everything you wish to manifest, starts to have a stronger echo in the field. And if at any moment doubts arise, if the mind starts questioning, just return to the heart, breathe again, reconnect. Because the truth is that the quantum field responds less to what you think and much more to what you feel coherently. Walking meditation, transforming the observer in motion. Until now, all your observation practice has taken place in silence, internally, in stillness. But there comes a moment when the real challenge begins, bringing this presence into movement, integrating the state of conscious observer while the body walks, breathes, interacts with the environment. And this is exactly where walking meditation comes in. Unlike the traditional image many have of meditation, that one where you need to be still, eyes closed, isolated from the world, walking meditation is an invitation to awaken consciousness in the middle of real life. It's the exercise of being present while the body moves, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Maybe you've never thought about this, but the simple act of walking carries a powerful energetic force. Every step you take is a collapse of possibilities in the field. With each movement, you make a vibrational choice to be present or to be absent, to be in the now or lost in the automatic flow of the mind. And what happens when you decide to walk with presence? Your perception expands in an almost unbelievable way. The contact of your feet with the ground starts to feel different, denser, more alive. The movement of the muscles, the articulation of the knees, the natural swing of the arms, everything gains new meaning. The world ceases to be a background scene and becomes a field of vibrational interaction. The mind, which before was trapped between past and future, starts to quiet down. Because the body in conscious movement creates an anchor in the present. And the more you observe the act of walking, the more you realize it's not the body moving on its own. It's you, the observer, crossing the field, leaving an energetic signature with each step. There is no right or wrong pace to do this. You can walk slowly, almost in slow motion, feeling every detail, or you can simply adopt a natural rhythm, but with one crucial difference: attention. Instead of walking on autopilot, like every other day, the invitation here is to become one with the movement, to breathe with each step, to feel the wind touching your skin, to perceive the sounds around you without judgment, to let thoughts pass like clouds while the body keeps moving forward. And maybe during this conscious walk, you'll start to notice something new, a sense of belonging to the space, as if the environment around you were also perceiving you, as if reality itself were responding to your presence. This isn't poetry, it's physics applied to the vibrational field. The more presence you put into movement, the more the field around you reorganizes. Small coincidences start to happen. People cross your path with strange synchronicities. Thoughts that seemed distant suddenly manifest as real situations. And that's precisely why walking meditation is essential training for the next level of conscious observation. Because it teaches you to remain awake, even amid the chaos of daily life, to sustain the state of observer, even when the outside world is in constant motion. If before your practice was internal and still, now it gains body, gains ground, gains life. So, if you can, make a commitment to yourself. In the coming days, choose a moment in your day to walk with this quality of attention. It could be on your way to work, during a break, or even inside your home. The important thing isn't the place, it's your presence in the process. Conscious observer effect, interacting with invisible reality. Maybe you haven't realized it yet, but from the very first moment you chose to be here, something has already started to change. Every conscious breath, every moment of presence, every time you decided to observe instead of react, all of this is creating a new quality of interaction with reality. What we call the conscious observer effect is not a distant concept reserved for physics labs or complex quantum theories. It's happening now, exactly as you listen to these words. It happens every time you choose to place real presence into something, every time you witness life without resistance, every time you decide to look from a deeper place. The invisible reality around you, the field of possibilities, is not a fixed scenario waiting for rational decisions. It's a living organism, pulsating in constant transformation, and extremely sensitive to how you observe it. Every thought charged with emotion, every sensation of opening or closing in your chest, every moment when you feel gratitude or fear, all of this leaves a vibrational signature in the field. And this is where the game gets even more serious, because what you once considered coincidence starts to reveal another face, that unexpected message that arrives at the exact moment. That person who crosses your path with an answer you didn't even know you were seeking, or even that opportunity that seemed impossible and suddenly manifests with a synchronicity hard to explain. None of this is chance. It's the field responding to your state of being. Being a conscious observer means taking responsibility for this interaction. It doesn't mean controlling everything or trying to force results, but recognizing that there is an ongoing conversation all the time between what you feel inside and what the universe reflects back to you. And maybe, at this very moment, you're feeling a mix of clarity and lightness, as if a part of you that always knew this is finally waking up. And if that's the case, know that you're not just understanding something new, you're becoming something new. From here on, every gaze of yours, every choice of attention, every silent intention carries the potential to rewrite realities. The world around you is no longer the same, because you are no longer the same. Your presence is the code. Your silence is the language. Your observation is the key. And from today on, every step you take, every moment you choose to feel, instead of just think, will continue creating waves in the invisible field. Waves that, sooner or later, return to you as new experiences, new possibilities, new realities. You are not trapped. You never were. You were just looking from the wrong place. Now, you know. We've reached the end of our journey, but somehow you know this is just the beginning. Today, you didn't receive a technique. You received a new way of looking at life, a broader, more conscious, more vibrational lens. From body perception to the invisible field, through intentional focus, emotion, and movement, everything brought you to this point. The recognition that your observation is a creative force. Nothing outside you needs to change before your perception changes. And now, every breath, every step, every choice of attention carries a potential that you may never have felt so clearly. If you've made it this far, I want you to write in the comments, I observe. I create. That way I'll know you went all the way, and that something inside you truly awakened.